part of all this journaling is also just, for me, it's very therapeutic. I have so many of these stories that are inside my head that I just have to get them out. I just really need to, share them. And because over the years, it takes its toll. I mean, it is very much a burden, one that I'm happy to bear, but just to do it in isolation, it just doesn't feel right. Not that I want other people to share my misery. No. I just want people to share the experience. And maybe they can help me understand things better. Maybe they can help me to see things that I don't see. Maybe give me a sense of what life is, what its meanings are, what its roots are. I don't know. I don't have a clue. And that's why I'm putting this here, because I don't have any sense. And I can tell you one thing for sure, there's got to be something in this water in DC, because DC, growing up here, wherever you're from, whether you're in the concrete, you're out in the suburbs, you're in between, whatever, I don't care. But there's something in this water, in this general area, that we're just different. And that's the same thing anybody say for like New York or Boston or Chicago or LA. Every place is different, and there's something in the water. Well, the water here, we got something. And hard to say what it is, but the net effect is when you look at the history of DC, most recent history too, it's this sense of just doing things on our own, or do it yourself. DC is a conundrum, it is a small, large city. It is the seat of the nation's capital, but it's also, the people of Washington, D.C., the history behind it. But I can tell you, growing up here in D.C. and in this time, there's always been a sense of not just following what's prescribed. That I don't know if it is a personality disorder, we just can't do it, but we just feel like we know what we need to do and we just need to do it, and not have others tell us to do what they want us to do when they don't even know what they want to do. So, I guess long story short is, I'm just doing what I can and what I know. And whether I'm good at it, time will tell. Whether I've had some kind of a memory in somebody's mind, don't know. It's very hard to practice medicine. And I'm sure there'd be a lot of people, would be like, well, this doctor is just so full of himself. Thinks he's got all the answers, or, well, he can only do this because he's doing it his way. If it's much harder to do it the right way inside of a system that already exists. And what about health care for everybody? It's not scalable. It's not a good business model. All I really want is for things to be simple, good, and true. I want to be 80 years old, lying in my bed, and being able to think about all the things that have happened in life. My life, the lives of others. I would say that for sure, doing this in this capacity gives me a great deal of humility. I mean, that's a bullshit word. To be humble, humility, whatever. Humility. But it just gives me a different perspective. And I'm just naturally just really curious, because I don't know. I don't know what opportunities are out there. I don't know what lies behind that door. I don't know what's going to open up. I don't know what's going to close. And before you know it, it'll all be done. So why not just get it now? So let me see if I can get this story straight. I received an email late last night, and it was for sister of a patient who's here in DC. Now the sister is calling on behalf of the patient because the patient is not able to call for themselves. The sister is geriatric, and the patient is as well. The patient was recently hospitalized in Atlanta, Georgia, and she had been discharged to home, but the discharge to home had no sense about what that meant, discharging her to home. When she got home, she was under the care of a family member who had didn't have real capacity to care for her. A combination of a mental disorder and you know, other cognitive issues. They just simply couldn't do it. They may have wanted to, but the reality was the patient was going to get worse. And that's what was happening, and that's why her sister, who lives here in DC, drove all the way down to Atlanta, scooped her up, and brought her here, with the idea that she could help manage her a little bit better, but ultimately get the patient to her daughter in California. So I've been called to come in and provide an assessment, which is figure this out. It is to figure out whether she can transfer by plane, by boat, by train, by car to California safely, and how to get it done, making sure that her medical condition doesn't get worse. So my assessment is to kind of get the history a little bit more about what happened in the hospital and the discharge, what her medications are now, what are her limitations, and what needs to be put in place to make sure that she can get there. The complicating factor is the power of attorney is the daughter of the patient, and the daughter is deaf. She has a hearing husband, but the patient's daughter is deaf. So that adds another feature to all of this. How do we make sure that there's good lines of communication and that things don't get lost or forgotten and then a big mistake happens? So I would really say maybe 10% of this is medicine and the rest of it is social. It's trying to figure this out. And sometimes you just gotta roll up your sleeves and get a little dirty and find the right people to work with. You know, if a family wants to work on this, I'm more than happy to do that too. Then we can see where it goes, all right? I never make any promises. I always try to give as much information so that people are informed and know what they're getting into or not getting into. And so let's see. Should be very interesting. All right. Well, all done with that. Very nice family. Saw 3 sisters and the patient. Very sweet. Patient is here. She actually is bedbound, but can actually get up out of bed just with a lot of assistance. So the family really picked her up on Tuesday, came back on Thursday, and now they're trying to get an aide in to come in tomorrow. So hopefully all of that will make sure that she continues to do well. Reviewed some of the medications. The medications for her blood pressure and her heart all look good. She was put on a medication to help with pain, but the strange thing is, where's the pain coming from? What's the cause for it? Just giving medication just because there's pain without characterizing what the pain is, where it's coming from, just doesn't make a lot of sense. So in this case, she has had falls, but the report is from her, she's having pain on the left side of her rib cage, which would be consistent if she actually fell down and fractured a rib. But there's nothing in the hospital record for any x-ray or anything to look specifically for a rib fracture. Which seems a little bizarre because you're giving pain medication but not identifying why, other than just that it's pain. So recommendation would be really just old school. It's looking at using some Epsom salt, rubbing alcohol, extra strength Tylenol. But the other thing that had me more concerned is she's bedbound and she's dehydrated. When there is dehydration in an elderly patient, that's actually cause for alarm because it's a bad sign. If they're dehydrated, then they are essentially what we call failure to thrive. They've either lost the will or lost the motivation or just haven't been supported enough or cared enough for to be able to make it through on their own. So one of my strongest recommendations was to make sure that she gets well hydrated. Now, well hydrated, what does that mean? You got to break it down. It's not just meaning you get more water, 3 glasses of water. It means really identifying that there's electrolytes, that there's some nourishment, that there is fluids that will replenish the body. Water by itself is just water. It's not giving you anything else. She could be low on potassium, magnesium, or a whole host of other things. And then it's being very specific about what you think would be appropriate for her. Because the next thing you know, you're going to be asking them to give her more fluids. Guess what's going to happen thereafter? She's going to need to go to the bathroom quite a bit. And that's not going to be fun. So it's also indicating, how to give it. You give it on a regular schedule. Try to hold it before she goes to sleep at night. And then when she wakes up, resume. Otherwise, she'll be up all night going to the bathroom. So hydration, really important. But the other part is she is malnourished. Since however long, I'm not too sure, but getting an accurate history from the patient's family members as to how many calories she's actually taking, then you can very clearly see she's been malnourished for some time. You malnourish just about anybody, and guess what? They're not going to have much energy, they're going to feel lethargic, they're not going to want to get out of bed, all of these things. So at the end of the day, she needs more calories. What's the best way to get that in her? Whatever she likes, at any time that she wants it. If it's a milkshake, if it's peanut butter, jelly sandwiches. At this point, being nutritionally deprived, just getting the calories just to meet the minimum, that's the key. Now, I happen to like, I'm go back to old school, what's true and tried and works. A good bone marrow broth soup. And so, obviously, if a patient is vegetarian or vegan, doesn't really apply, but you can still do a vegetable broth soup. But bone marrow broth soups has a ton of calories, lots of minerals, fat, that really, surprisingly can make a patient feel fantastic and give them the energy that they need to just get back on their feet. So in addition to just lots of fluids, the right kinds of fluids, it's also calories, but the right kind of calories too. And this must also include, considering she's malnourished, any kind of supplementation, B-complex. A liquid multivitamin would be good in a geriatric patient. and really making sure that most of the supplements don't taste good. It's just another pill you have to take. Oh my God, I'm sick and tired of it. So liquid, just a shot of good old liquid vitamin, no chaser, and should be all good. So hopefully they'll be able to get the arrangements. I think she can fly, so she's going to get a flight, not right now, but in the coming weeks. Family will make the appropriate accommodations in the home so that when she gets there aren't any hiccups, and then the flight can be arranged for a wheelchair to come right to the home. Actually, paramedics brought her from the first level to the second level up these flight of stairs. The Lord bless their hearts. And so she's going to need to come back down the same way, and wheelchair to airport, and then from there back when she gets in California, airport to home. So, and then she's all tucked in. So very interesting case, really tells a lot about what's going on. A little bit of medicine, a whole lot of social gumbo, I like to call it. And I think this will work out. So good story. And now I'm rushing off to go back and see what my son needs. I've been running around, so he's been pinging me like there's no tomorrow. And so I need to get back to him and see what's going on. Beautiful day though. A little hot and muggy in DC, but it's beautiful. Couldn't ask for any better.